What would you do if you woke up locked in a dark room with your hands covered in blood, no one around, and nothing to help you aside from an instant Polaroid camera? Taking much inspiration from the likes of PT and Silent Hill, Madison is a game developed by only 2 people over a 5-year period. Due to its atmosphere and meticulously crafted location, Madison manages to stand on a pedestal amongst a forever growing sea of forgetful indie horror titles. Teaching you to always think and solve problems on your feet while never trusting your surroundings, Madison provides an experience that will not only shake you to your core, but will also engrave every disturbing image it has to offer into your worst nightmares. My name is Patrick Burrow, and this is Critics Play Games. Madison is the debut title from developer Bloodiest Games and is a first-person psychological horror game in which players control Luca, a teenage boy with a penchant for photography and mutilation. Waking up covered in blood, Luca's only chance for survival is to solve increasingly difficult and elaborate puzzles to uncover the truth of the malignant forces haunting him while also completing the steps of a demonic ritual. Madison is a video game I have been looking forward to for quite a while now, ever since it was really announced and the demo came out a few years ago. Playing that demo all those years ago and seeing what it had to offer for about 15-minute playtime, I was immediately intrigued and excited to see what these developers had to offer. And thankfully, Madison does not disappoint with what would have to be one of the scariest and most unsettling video game experiences I've had in a very long time. Taking much inspiration from the likes of PT, Silent Hill, and Outlast, it excels with its tight corridors and constant revisitation aspect like the likes of PT, especially because it has this very eerie vibe and a very claustrophobic setting that makes you feel this constant sense of unease. Whereas when it comes to the likes of Silent Hill, Madison takes major inspiration from Silent Hill with its incredibly elaborate puzzles that forever grow in difficulty. It requires some major thinking outside the box and some major trial and error, making some of these puzzles very thought-provoking. It has been a while, even within something like Resident Evil, which used to thrive on its puzzle solving through the survival horror aspect. This game thrives on its puzzles, and it was really awesome to see a puzzle-based horror game return to its roots. What I mean by that is we haven't had one like this since the early Silent Hill games, if I'm being completely honest. The puzzle-based system kind of left Resident Evil back when Resident Evil 4 came out, whereas Silent Hill always kept this as a part of their main trope until at least Silent Hill 4 The Room. But this game definitely takes inspiration from the puzzle-based aspect of Silent Hill. It makes you want to note your every surrounding because exiting a room and walking back in, even the slightest thing could change that could be the key element towards a puzzle you need to solve later. Whether it's a hint you need to snap with the Polaroid camera or an item that you need to pick up and put in your inventory and save later in the safe, these things could appear at any time and you wouldn't notice from the slight change of events while progressing through Madison's story. Need I also mention that Madison has a lot of nightmare-inducing sequences to offer and it never gets old. From the atmosphere and tension through the locations, incredible sound design, and the use of jump scares, Madison excels on its nightmare sequences of things just roaming around in the dark or nothing happening at all. Even something as simple as a staticky TV with a news broadcast turning on in the background that never turns off and is always playing throughout the halls is truly terrifying. Music at times is quite absent throughout Madison's runtime. Therefore, it is just you, the location, the natural ambiance, and your own thoughts. Need I also mention, in the same likes of Outlast, the Polaroid camera is your best friend. In Outlast, you played as a character with a night vision camera that you use to navigate your surroundings as well as the darkness. In Madison, you do a similar thing using a Polaroid camera to snap a photo to either uncover hints of otherworldly demise, to transport between what seems to be dimensions, or to snap photos to light up the darkness to see what demons lie at bay. It teaches you to never hesitate and to always know your path, because even a single moment of hesitation can mean the difference between life or death. The one in particular that stuck me most for this was the chapel sequence, where you had to find 4 candles and place them on the right podium below certain photographs of which you would photograph earlier, and they are color coordinated from green to red to yellow to blue, while at the same time you're being stalked by a haunting presence known as Hans. When you go into the inventory, the game does not pause like the likes of Resident Evil. In this, the game still runs and any horrors can happen while just navigating through your inventory. So even a single moment to catch your bearings or look through your inventory to figure out the puzzle can also mean your death if you hesitate and take too long. From the unsettling imagery that Madison has to offer, a lot of the sequences in this game I will never forget and have been infused into my brain. Whether it's certain creepy happenstances such as objects moving around when you re-enter a room and they're in different places to where they initially were, like this stupid fucking statue the entire time, or when things happen when you least expect it. Madison is a game that provides you a sense of unease throughout its entire playtime, but at the same time does give you some solidarity throughout where things might not happen for a long period of time. So when a jump scare does happen, while they are very frequent, it happens when you least expect it and happens when it's something that you should be scared of in that way. These jump scares are not obnoxious and are used to elevate the horror aspect in this constant sense of tension. It manages to set you in a constant state of fear and panic where you are trying your best not to evacuate your bowels. There were definitely a few times where the game got me so bad that I may have let off a bit of wind and thought I might need to check my underwear. Even something as simple as a flash of light in the game from the Polaroid camera can absolutely send shivers down your spine. While Madison definitely excels on the horror aspect behind it with its masterful atmosphere, tension, and scares, I can say that while the story isn't anything particularly deep and is very bare bone, it does have at least an interesting enough story that is invested for the most part, even with the limited narrative it has to provide through its 5-hour playtime. But at the same time, I can't really fault this because the character of Luca with the lore surrounding this world is at least interesting enough to keep you invested the entire way. As for issues when it comes to Madison, I'd have to say the voice acting for Luca in particular is pretty bland and he does come off as a bit of a whiny little brat at times. And not only that, I really did not like the inventory system in this game. While using the inventory and searching through for the horror aspect is very tense, especially because the game does not pause when you're searching through to figure out puzzles, this system does not feel like it belongs in Madison. Madison is a psychological horror game that thrives on the thrills and scares and puzzle solving as well as its natural ambience and tension. But incorporating a survival horror aspect with an inventory system that is way too restrictive for its own good tends to ruin the pacing a lot. With the inventory system provided to you while playing as Luca, you have a maximum of 8 slots, which turns out to really only be 5 because Luca's notebook, Polaroids, and the Polaroid camera cannot be discarded or swapped out into the item box system, being a safe, similar to what Resident Evil is with the item box system that has been prevalent since the original game. This becomes quite frustrating as it ruins the flow and the pacing of the game. Things tend to slow down a lot whenever you need to backtrack a lot because you can be somewhere and have to backtrack at least 2 to 5 minutes before getting back to the save to discard of items and grab out key items that you might need for this key moment. But even then, sometimes you'll have to backtrack multiple times and a single puzzle that you need to solve with certain key items can take way longer than they needed to if you just got rid of this stupid inventory system. There were certain moments that should have been over in a jiffy, but in this it took me at least 10 to 20 minutes at times when it shouldn't have taken nearly that long, and it did slow things down. But overall, Madison is a terrifying horror game that truly unsettled me and shook me to my core. It is one of the few games I've ever played that actually had me put the controller down and take a few days break before returning to complete it for my first playthrough. And even now, trying to get my platinum trophy and trophy hunt through everything the game has to offer is kind of a nightmare due to the restrictive aspect of some of these trophies, such as completing the game in under 2.5 hours, complete the game by taking only 45 photos, and also on hard mode. There are certain difficulty aspects that are changed with Madison with its higher difficulties, and there are certain things that you can get out of it that challenge yourself and to truly have the horror settle in even further when you return to play the game for the completion aspect. But not everyone will do this, so as a standalone game on its own through my initial playthrough, Madison turned out to be one of the scariest games I've played in years. It shook me to my core, it never let up. This constant sense of dread and unease was ever so prevalent throughout the game's entire runtime. So many sequences and so many images are forever burned into my brain, and I will not be forgetting anytime soon. Madison is a meticulously crafted indie horror game that stands on a pedestal amongst many other forgettable titles of the same nature. It takes the inspiration from PT but makes it so much more, while incorporating so many other aspects of other games out there like Outlast and Silent Hill. Madison is one of my favorite games in a very long time, especially as a massive horror fan, and I can't wait to see what these developers do with their next project. Madison truly is one of the scariest games I've experienced in a very long time, and I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. So guys, have you played Madison? What do you think of it? Please comment down below and let us know here at Critics Play Games. We would love to see what you guys have to say. And what is your favorite PT type clone? Or is just PT your favorite? Would you have liked to see Silent Hills? Or have you played Madison yet? Please comment down below, let us know. We'd really like to see what you guys have to say. Look out for more game reviews and gaming content coming very, very soon, guys. My name is Patrick Burrow, and this has been Critics Play Games.